Hey man, this is DJ Strick, and man, I'm by myself today. Can you tell? This is gonna be so cool for you. So, if you're watching this in a replay, I am so excited about the opportunity to talk about how you can record your podcast with Ecamm Live. Now, we'll say this ahead of time. For whatever reason, my camera has decided to act up a little bit today. So if I have a little camera problems, have to turn it on and turn it back off, please know that that's a part of being live. So if you're here today, let's talk through the chats. I really would like to be able to answer some of your questions about podcasting with Ecamm as I talk through some of the things that I like to do when I use Ecamm for my podcast. So this is the stream show, right? I live stream. That's what I do. I like to live stream, but right now I'm able to take a live stream, edit the recorded live stream, and then post it as a podcast. My man David, how you doing, sir? Thank you for hanging out with us today. Thank you for coming through. This is really cool. Appreciate you saying hello. We have a lot of things we're going to talk about today, and I definitely need you guys to be a part of it. And it'll help me through this process, especially knowing exactly what you like to talk about. Crossworks, man, thank you. Hello to you as well. Thanks for coming in. I want to dive into the first thing. All right, first things first. First things first. Brian, appreciate you saying that. This is going to be really, really cool. And if you have any questions, it'll help me dial this in for you, Brian. Okay? It'll help me dial this in. I want to start with the first things first. All right? So the first thing that we all want to know about is what computer are you using? Okay? This is the brains of the whole network. So if you're going to podcast, okay? George, good to see you, sir. Thank you for coming through. It's the brains of the whole system. Now, with Ecamm is continuing to level up in its feature that it provides. And here's my camera acting up, guys. I'm not really sure why it's going on and off, but if you're hanging there with me, I'm going to do my best to be sure it is ready to go for us. Okay? Audio is working great, but for whatever reason, this camera is turning off and on, and I had this problem before. It worked itself out, and it's something to do with my cabling. I think I moved something I shouldn't have moved, and it is a live show, so guess what? Things happen, all right? Live happens, and we're going to be okay with it. Which camera I'm using? I'm using a Sony 6400, and I got it plugged in, of course, to like I normally have it plugged in. I don't have a problem with this at all. But for whatever reason, something may have been moved in the back of my computer and my settings, and it is acting up. But if you guys will be patient with me, as live happens, I'm going to do my very best to give you all that I have. No, it's the Sony 6400, and normally this doesn't happen, but I'm in the cycle right now to where it's acting like the battery didn't charge, but I'm actually, plugged into the camera, so I don't need the battery charge. So I'm not really sure why it's doing that. No, I don't think it's the capture card either, because the camera is actually turning off. All right. So thank you guys for coming through. So the importance of having all of this stuff set is important as far as having your wires and your cables and all set. This is the same camera setup I've been using for, wow, this is probably like a year and a half now. Okay, it's a year and a half now. Now, the only thing that is different today that you see different from me is this SN7B. Of course, you know I am a SN7B boy, but I do have an overhead boom mic, and I'm going to switch to this in a second so you guys can kind of hear a difference between the two when you're podcasting. Now, I was talking about Ecamm and all of the features and functions that Ecamm has. You want to be sure that you step up from the M1. Okay, so there is the Studio, M1 Studio is good. The M2 Mac Mini is good. And reason why I'm saying that is you need to be able to have the processing space on this computer to be able to do isolated video and isolated audio recordings. Okay, I will tell you this, I have the M1 Mac Mini, and it's the, I want to say it's the 8 gigs. It's not enough. All right, it's not enough. So what I'm telling you is to get the get the M2. If you get the Mac Mini, get the M2 Mac Mini. Get a Studio. M1 Studio is good. It has the processing speeds for all of that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because unlike some other software systems, Ecamm is using your computer to record all these things. You want to be sure that you have that. So this is what Brian said he has. Yes, 16 M2 Max with 60. Yes, sir, you are ready to go. Like, this is what you need. Exactly. You're ready to do it. And why is that important? You want the isolated video, you want the isolated audio, and you, like, now I'm streaming live. So you're streaming live. I'm streaming in 4K. I'm recording isolated video. If I had guests, it's my video and the guest video. And there's the guest audio, which it doesn't take much to record audio, but when you put several different video sources in, that's where it could really be an issue. Okay, that's where it could be a real issue. Now, David, you're in the game as well. The MacBook Pro, so you're in the game as well. Like, this really works as well. For all of us that ran and got at one point the M1 Mac Mini M1, which I'm still running in my studio, I'm just not able to do as much isolated video and audio while I am live. It works perfectly. I just don't have the ability to get some of those extra features. That's my experience. There may be other people that are experiencing other things with Ecamm, but I know that if I'm streaming in 4K and I have to get isolated video, isolated audio, that there's been times where I would get an error message saying that it has stopped. Just trying to help you out. I want you to go up. Now, I want you to do what we call future-proof yourself with your computer setup, all right? That being said, when you future-proof yourself, get as much as you can afford at that time over what you need, okay? Over what you need. So as Ecamm continues to innovate and gives us more features, like, you know, they just talked about, the twins just came on this past week and talked about new features, new integration with Zoom. I think they're going to continue to innovate and bring in things to Ecamm. You need to have a computer to actually run it, okay? That is the first step. All right. If there are questions, if you put a Q colon inside of your question, so I'll know to get to it. And I want to be sure I get it. I know Brian had something here. If you ask me what I'd love to learn, by far, I'd love to see how you can use Ecamm to podcast with a guest, especially as a video podcast. Okay, Brian, that's easy. So normally, Brian, if you watch the show, normally I do have a guest on today. So everybody is looking for Kirk. Kirk is stuck at an airport. Like, he was traveling this week and he would have been in. They changed his connecting flight, and he is stuck and will not be on tonight. But we send him all the love and safe travels out to Kirk R. Nugent. Now, that being said, and I'm still, oh, it's saying it's hot. That's what it's saying. It's saying it's getting hot. I'm in my basement, guys. So I do have it a little warm in here, of course, because it's cold outside. And maybe I have the room too warm. Very interesting. I just needed to read what it was saying. All right, here we go. So I help you out with I do apologize again for my video by us being live in here. Hey, sometimes those things happen. We are going to continue to go, and my job is to be sure that I get to where you want to be. Is there a latency time with chat streaming in 4K? I'm not really sure. I think the latency is across the board. So I don't think that in my estimate of streaming in 4K, I don't have a issue with the latency at all. And I could be wrong. I mean, as far as the chat coming through, it may be just a little bit behind, but you know, that's just part of the systems in my estimate. I don't have a problem seeing it come through, and you guys will be able to see at the same time as people are writing into the comments. And I do appreciate you doing that. Okay. So we talked about the computer, and I'm going to get to some more comments in just a second here. We talked about the computer you use, because I think that is how you start out. And just like any video, if we're going to do video podcasting, okay, with Ecamm, it's not, you're going to use your audio as you edit, because you can strip out the audio. You can edit because you have isolated audio between you and your guest. But in the most part, you want to be sure you look good. Lighting is important, okay? How you light yourself, how you have, like, my key light is coming from this side. I have a fill light coming from this side. And I will just, because I have a remote here, I'll show you what it looks like when I stop my key light. All right, this is my key light, and this is my fill. My fill is coming through pretty good, all right? I like how that looks when I turn off my key light, but when I turn it on, guess what? You get a better picture of me here. It's still a little bit on this side, a little bit darker. I don't have the full Rembrandt going on here, but it's close. You know, I could probably be a little bit darker here, but I like the full look as well. And it is telling me to allow time for this thing to cool. I normally don't have a camera problem. And you should always be prepared, guys. And I am not. I don't have a second camera ready to go. And I say that, and I do. While we get this together. Oh, I know what I need to do. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. So it got a little warm in the room. I just opened the door to the rest of the basement, right? No worries. It'll cool off really quick in here, and I'll be fine for the show. That being said, I want to check in with you guys in the comments here since I have a break, and we'll see what you guys have going on, since I have so much happening right here in the studio right now. Like, this is the classic version of live happens. And what are you going to do? Going to go with it or not? I believe in going with it. So I don't have my guest today. It's just me and you. And this is something from last week. And I want to pull over Aaron's comment. I podcasted for YouTube for years. The recording was super clean. I use it as a backup to convert to MP3 in case my mixer recording did not work out. So there you go. Aaron, thank you for saying that. Like, this is a really cool thing that we have going on here with Ecamm. Yes, Brian, thank you. There is, if I had my lighting just a little bit, if I feel like just a little bit dimmer, I think I will be okay with really, really coming with that Rembrandt light there. Okay. Yeah, it did get dark there for a second, but it was all in to show you guys how it actually works, okay? So David is asking a question. Let me see. Are the doors of all of the components open, like the battery door, USB door? No, David, I really don't have anything set up any different than I normally would. I mean, I have my the lens up. There's no doors that the door that's open is the door for, of course, the HDMI, and then the power door that's open, but everything else is closed. And this setup that I have is no different than what I normally have. Like, it's absolutely no different than I would normally do. And Dan is here. He says he used the Expo for a spotlight effect. Okay, cool. That's really, really cool. I do have a hair light up here. Of course, I have several lights that are hitting the background, and then I have a light coming down in the back too. So yes, I am back. Like, this is funny for me today. So I appreciate you guys being patient. Like, this is going to be one of those shows where you can get a classic look of what happens when your camera goes out and you're talking about podcasting. Like, it is what it is. And hey, we're going to get through this together. All right. Um, I've been doing my podcast live on YouTube with Ecamm for the last few years. Ecamm rocks. Joseph, let me tell you this. I really love the fact that Ecamm has all of the features that is needed. Like, when I found Ecamm a couple of years ago, I don't know, 3 years now, and all of the stuff that it could do, I was one of those people that found it and paid for the whole year immediately. I needed to have this in my life. So I use Mac at home. At my church where I work, we were using PCs. So the first thing that I ever used was vMix, which is another excellent program, but it's for PCs, not for Mac. So I had to find a system, and that's when I came across Ecamm, and that's what I've been using. Okay. What camera? So this is Sony 6400. Normally I don't have this problem when I'm working the whole time, but I do have a heater going on because I'm in my basement, and it just so happens to be a little colder down south right now. So I'm thinking the room is just a little warmer than it normally would be. So yes. Oh, does the real LED flip up completely? If so, you should do that too. Yeah, I have the LED flipped up so I can actually see it. You'll probably see my eyes going up and down. But yes. But I do think it's the problem with me being in here and having the room a little warmer than I need it to be, but we're going to work it out. I had to do that for my Sony EV1 to work. I got that tip from opening all the doors on the camera from Diana Gladney. And big shouts out to her for the tips, right? Yeah, the room is cooling off right now, so I'm thinking we're going to be fine. But I definitely appreciate all the tips and you guys hanging in there with me. Yes, Brian, let me tell you something. At some point, all of us will have these moments in our live streams. How do you handle it? What do you do? Because it is those times that really shows you who you are as a content creator. All right. How good are you at presenting? What do you do? In this case, I could actually be off the screen and just have the comments going and talking, and the comments could be the visual that you need while I fix my camera. Like, there's several ways to get around it. The biggest thing is learning how to how to manage it and not throw you completely off. Am I thrown off a little bit? Yes, but not completely off. Do I want to have a show where everybody's engaged and into what I'm doing and it is running like it's supposed to? Exactly, that's what I want. But there are going to be some of those occasions where you're going to have issues. How do you handle your issues? Now, if I'm live streaming this for my podcast, all of this could be cut out. This is editable. You can write that in the comments too, so I can say it the right way. I can edit all of this, and for the podcast, no one would know I had a camera problem. So doing it live, and it also shows, hey, even DJ Strick has an issue sometimes in live stream. It is common from all of us. Like, people need to know you're real. Only thing I would tell anybody is to not break down. Don't break down and say, oh my God, this is the worst thing. It's not the worst thing ever. Like, you're live streaming, talking about products. This is not the worst thing ever. It is unfortunate, and it happens when you live stream, but you could work through it. And I hope that I encourage somebody with that today. You can work through it. This is easy stuff. Okay. This is easy stuff. And I just wish I was just a little bit tighter on my focus so you can see all the wrinkles and stuff. Dad said after his daughter streaked through his live with Tanya, he's prepared for anything. Guess what? That will prepare you, Dad. It really will. We talked about the computer. We've talked about the lights. Now, let's talk about the audio. What's going on, sir? Thank you for hanging out with us today. Thank you for coming through. Let's talk about the audio, all right? It'll be fun to have a tutorial, Ecamm tutorial creating emergency cutscenes. Oh yeah, yeah. So there's tons of them. Guess what, Brian? I don't have an issue enough to have an emergency stream, but that is part of the pro thing as well. Having an "I'll be back soon" screen is a big deal. I just don't use it. You know why? I rarely have an issue, and when I do, I just talk through it. But some of the other professionals might tell you, I have "I'll be back soon" due to technical issue, and it's okay. All right. And I do think that that's needed. But here, you guys are right there with me, Brian. You guys are right there with me, and we're going to move on with a nice cooler room in here for my camera so we can, so it won't go off again. That being said, right now I'm using a boom mic, but now I told you I'm an SM7B boy, right? You guys are going to hear the difference between the two. Like, I'm always using this microphone, and from right on it, right in the center of the direction of that mic, man, it sounds great. But when I turn this on, this is the difference in audio, guys. This is the difference. It sounds so much different. I really love the sound of the SM7B. I don't do as much podcasting, but if I am podcasting, this is the mic that I am using, and you can tell from the tones, you can tell from how it picks up my voice, how much better that is. I want to know in the comments, like, how much different the sound is from you, and do you hear automatically how the SM7B picks up my tones, and it would sound better if you're using like headphones. Now, if you're not using headphones, you might not hear a difference at all. But I hear a difference because I have my ears in. Okay? I have my ears in. Okay? That being said, there are several mics that you could use. Condenser, Cordial. There's so many different mics. The best thing is finding the right mic for your voice and for your tone. Just not default and get the SM7B. Don't do that. Find the right mic for you that it works. Like, everybody wants to be in the Shure Club, right? They have the coolest thing, but there are other microphones. My boom mic is not a Shure mic, and I love using that as well. So there may be another mic that maybe is not as well known, maybe a little cheaper. I promise you, I love the Rode products. I love the Rode products. All right. So this is a $400 mic, and this is a $100 mic. You want to hear the difference? Okay, let's just do it. I don't mind showing you the difference. Like, I kind of like doing this. All right. I kind of like doing this, like, for people that need to know or want to know, like, what the difference is. I like playing with microphones, guys. I'm sorry. So this was going to happen. All right. Mic check, mic check. There you go. That's the difference. $399, $99. What do you think? What's the difference there? Like, for somebody that comes out, I mean, I definitely can hear a difference in the microphone. But is it a $300 different mic? For you, everybody is different. Now, I made the investment for the SM7B, but I also made the investment for the pod mic. You know, I actually have a wholesaler, a friend of mine, so I didn't pay like full price for this, but it's all there, okay? It is all there. So let me go to the comments because you guys are saying some things and I want people to be able to see this as well, using the pop mic. And it's been using, okay. Absolutely love it. There you go, Brian. You found a mic that you love and you're using it. I love it. I love it. One is saying much richer tone. The SM7B did have a much richer tone. Sometimes it's not about it. It is about the room acoustics along with the mic. So when you have a treated room, it is less bounciness of the audio in the room, which means that you could go with a different type of mic. Okay. So the SM7B is going to do a great job of, even if the room is not treated, to handle the audio. The Rode is not. Like my room is treated fairly well. If I did have more noise hitting the room, you would hear it in this microphone. All right, you would. This one, let's just swap one more time. This is swap. So I'm going in between my boom mic and the Rode mic and the SM7B, and I'll put down the Rode just for a second. And now we're back to the SM7B. All right. My man Kirk said he's rushing to get home. There you go, man. Be safe. Be safe. I know there may still be some ice on the road in Huntsville, so be safe. Yeah, the proximity also is a big deal. So you know, the closer you get and all that kind of stuff, it really makes a difference. But the Shure SM7B is a sure thing. It is definitely a sure thing. Okay. But is it a $300 difference? All right. From the Shure pod mic. I don't know. Like, everybody's budget is different. Like I said, I didn't pay full price for the Shure, but it's definitely there. All right. The newer pod mic uses the USB, comes in with a wind filter, and that has cut down on the explosives too. There you go, Brian. There you go. And David is helping us out. Kurt, safe travels on the gravel as well. There you go. So I'm talking about the audio. We got the video going. I cooled my room down enough for my camera to not go crazy. I must have it really, really hot in here. Oh, man, it's been so cold in Alabama. So I must have it too cold for my room. But the camera is acting right. The lights are looking good. I never took out my field light, so you guys will see what that looked like. But if I didn't have my field light, that's what it would look like. But so we'll do the side field, give you that angle there, and it's just there. Okay, it's just so much better. So I do have a question. Let me see if I can get to this question really quick. The one here. He says, I actually like how I sound with the Rode pod mic because it used other options too. Depends on what I want. What's your boom mic? So I do have the Sennheiser 416, which is when we talk about boom mics, it's one of the ones that's recommended. I think there's a 50 as well. There's several different Sennheisers, but I like it. If I was closer to the Sennheiser, you'll actually be able to, let me just do the Sennheiser because sometimes people don't understand how the boom mics work. They are a little bit away from it. You need a real treated room for the boom mic because it's so far from me. So where this is just a couple of inches away, the boom mic is almost 12 inches away. All right. So let me go so everybody can see with this boom mic, how far away it is. It's out of there now, is in the camera. Okay. So I'm going to put it closer to my mouth here. I got cables in the way, but I'm going to put it a little bit closer and we'll hear the difference. So this is just a little bit closer. Sennheiser 416. Now it doesn't have the bottom that the Shure SM7B does, but it is a nice rounded sound. I really like it. When you're doing podcasts, yes, SM7B, Shure mic, or something that's closer to you is important. But when I'm doing the stream show, having a mic outside, to me, I do like the look of having a mic outside of my shot. That's my preference. Okay, but I don't have to have that preference. All right. So let me go back to the SN7B. So there we go. So now I'm back. David, I promise you, sir, I am not cheating. Your voice helps the mic. I am not cheating. Now, I've been in radio for over 15 years. Okay? I'm just being honest, David. So there is a little bit of knowing how to work a microphone. There is a little bit of that. So I do apologize for everybody else. So here we go. Let me see. Brian is asking a good question. Are you using a noise gate on your mixer? Just a little bit. All right. There is a noise gate and a small threshold on the microphones here. So just a little bit of the processing. I have the Rodecaster Pro. This is the first one. And guys, I'm telling you, they made some new products that are amazing. They upgraded some things, but I really like the old one. Like, for what I use it for, it is perfect. Rodecaster Pro, the original one, is perfect for what I use it for. I'm able to do several different mics at one time. My wife is down in the studio. We record her radio show. So we're talking about podcasting, but I actually record her audio on the Rodecaster Pro in my studio. And so I have a line just for her that has all of her effects and processing on it. So I have 2 mics for myself. And then if I needed another mic, I could. So I like everything that the Rodecaster Pro has. Now, eventually, will I get to 2, or maybe the next product, or even the Duo? Yes, eventually I will get something else. But I really like this. It really fits my needs, okay? Now, I'm down here in the basement, had opened my door to the other side of the basement where the cars are, because my camera was getting hot because I have my heater in here, and it was nice and toasty, and my camera did not like it, and it's getting cold in here. That's the other thing you have to deal with live streaming. So how am I doing all of this with Ecamm? As you can tell, Ecamm allows me to do so much, from camera switching to using other slides and bringing up comments. I am using my Stream Deck to go to my comment stream right here, but I'm able to do that with Ecamm. And it's not just a video with me and then a video with someone else and just the video feeds and the audio feeds. I'm able to do so many different effects inside of Ecamm. That makes the difference. So if you wanted to use just the audio for your podcast and edit the audio, you could do that. But if you wanted to use the video and have a video podcast, guess what? This gives you the best option for both. You can do 2 things at one time. All right. And yes, Brian, the combination of Ecamm and your Stream Deck is just important. It makes, for me, like if I was switching a lot, I'm able to position the Stream Deck in such a way to where I know where the buttons are and I don't even have to look down. So I can look directly into the camera and then change whatever that scene is. That's if I was switching a lot. So now my comment screen is it's the second on the bottom row. It's the third one. So it's right in the middle. I had to look down to be sure. And it's not like to the top right. So if I was doing something, I actually go down and use my right column, which is I have the 15 and 15 button, and I use those 3 and maybe the 4th one on the top. So that's how I like to do it. Miss Green, thank you for joining us. Like, how do you record your podcast with Ecamm? We've been talking about basically the basics. We've been talking about basically the basics. That's not the best way of saying that, but I've been talking about the basics to help you understand that the video part of what you do and the audio part of what you do is the same. It's at the end, how do you want to use it? Do you want to use for a video podcast, or do you want to then strip the audio where with Ecamm you have isolated audio just in case one of your interview people are not talking loud enough? Guess what? You're able to then turn them up because you have that isolated audio. Or if you're talking but they have noise on their line for whatever reason, you can actually go through the isolated video and then just pull theirs out. Just kind of delete that section on them because they're not speaking anyway. You are. That gives you total and complete control of your live stream. Okay? It makes it so much easier to use. It makes it so much freer. And once you do that, there's really the basics to it. Like, what else? Let me ask you guys this question. Help me out. If you're out there and you're listening to this, and I know I have made it really, really simple, but you have other questions, guess what? Just ask me a question. It'll make it so much easier for me to answer your question now. And let me figure out because I'm making it simple because I do this every week, but there may be some nuance that you're wanting to do, because we have a couple of guys that use Ecamm, even in the chats here tonight, for recording their podcast. It is not rocket science, okay? It really is not. It's just how Ecamm is built to help you, and it gives you so many options, okay? So we're not talking about like what systems you would be using like down the line, like where will you put up your podcast and all of that. We're just talking about how easy and efficient Ecamm is to be able to record it. Now, I'm live streaming, but again, I could take this recording and actually edit it and put it up as a podcast. Number one, it's going to sound great because of all the things I have here together. I'm monitoring my audio through Ecamm. I'm using my Rodecaster Pro, and my voice with the SM7B, it just goes a long way. All right. Equip Institute, how are you doing? And thank you so very much for reminding people that it may be a really good idea if you hit the like button to show us that we're helping out. Let me know. All right. Let me know that we're helping you out tonight. And there's a few more things. 19 of us here and only 7. Man, gee, Albert, man, thank you. Thank you. And people are hitting the like button. I really, really do appreciate it. I have an amazing question, but if I ask Katie, he might never let me on the stream again. So I'm going to send my question to Mr. Hunt to ask. Well, hey, listen, you be smart about it, Dad. Be smart about what question you have. Is it the only way for my guests to see each other and a screen share to do via a broadcast, even if we're actually live? So, your guest that you comes in off of your invite link. They have the ability to see, they have options to what they see. So they can see the broadcast or they can see the other camera view. Okay. Now, John, I'm not really sure how you like to do it. I like for people to be able to see the broadcast so they know when they're on camera or when they're off camera. Okay. Don't want to ever make that mistake with guests, with them not understanding they were on camera and they felt like they were off camera and they took a little break. Like, you don't want that to happen. So I like for people to be able to see the broadcast, but they're able to choose that through Ecamm. But good question. There you go, Principal. She's got the Q colon. What is the quickest way to just capture the audio? So audio is always going to be captured through Ecamm based off of what you do. Let me see here. So if I go to, let me do this. I want to go to demo mode, and I'm hoping, let me know you guys can see Ecamm Live preferences. Please let me know you guys can see this. David says, okay. David says, yeah, you can see it. So David says that send it to him, Dan. He reserved all rights to use as for a friend. Miss Aubrey, thank you for coming through as well and hanging out with us. So when I am broadcasting, so I can record all broadcasts, I can record, we have the options here of what we do want to get. The camera and the audio, all of these things we're able to get. The interview guests, we're able to get all of this audio if you want it. And basically, Kathy, you just want the audio, you can turn off the cameras if you want to and just capture the audio. Okay. What I explained earlier is you will need more of a powerful Mac than we've had in the past to be able to do the recording. So for all of us that got the M1 Mac Mini, whether that's the 8 gig or 16, with record, like I stream 4K and recording the video for me and my guests and the audio for me and my guests could be a lot for the computer. So you want to be sure you have a strong enough computer to be able to do it all. All right. You want to be sure you have a strong enough computer to do it. So very, very good question. And so burn your computer out or heat up the room. Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm really cold in here right now. But what's warming me up is talking and moving around. So I'll be fine with it today. The camera wins. All right. The camera wins in what it wants because it told me, hey, Strick, you have the room too hot for me to operate. I didn't know that it was that hot in here. I was nice and comfortable. You know, I got my Ecamm new merchandise shirt on, Ecamm fam. All right. So you can go to the merch store and get you some of the new merchandise that Ecamm has. So I'm talking about podcasting with Ecamm, and I just threw a merch commercial inside of the video. We're live. We can do commercials. Why not, right? And Brian said it's the hoodies for him. And maybe if I had the hoodie, I could stand it being a little cooler in this room. Maybe that's the next one I'll get, Brian, is that. I'll get the hoodie. So we do have a question here I want to get to really, really quick. See, Technicon Media, do you know if we can select different audio channels when a USB mixer is added, enabled in Ecamm? My mixer 4-channel, but it seems Ecamm only uses channel 1 and 2. That is a good question. I'm not really sure what mixer you are using, but that's going to be in the mixer routing that you have. The mixer routing, like where the channels are going to. So there is something like I want to say Loopback that you can use that will allow you to route those other channels on your mixer a little differently so that Ecamm can see them. Okay, that may be the additional app that you may want to be able to use. Okay. Loopback. And I'm saying it in my head to be sure because I don't use it, but it was used at one point a lot through Ecamm because of echo. And with the Rodecaster, I never needed to use it because it has its own mix minus. But there are some things out there. There were some people using it to bring in Zoom audio. So look into that. Okay, good question though. My question is, what microphone is strong enough for both you and the voice of God? Asking for a friend. Listen. That is a good question. That's funny, man. I'm stopping because my guy has just came through, and I want to add him to the show here. Let's see if I can get him on, if I'm doing this right. There we go. See if we can get my man Kirk in the studio with me today. He's been traveling. Hey, brother, what's up, man?
We made it. I feel like something's not on. One of my lights is not on. Something's not quite right, but I'll figure it out. I made it.
You did. You did. And I do appreciate it, man. I appreciate you making it safe. And G. Aber is saying it's better late than never, sir.
Yeah.
Better late than never. And I thank you, Mark, for telling us Loopback is what he could use. Loopback.
I wanted to touch on that Loopback one because I'm kind of a Loopback guy.
I'm not. I never use Loopback.
Oh, I have some videos on Loopback that will completely get your whole life right in terms of Ecamm and the Zoom and two-way audio and all that other good stuff. But yeah, Loopback really does allow you to create your own mics. It is such a versatile platform, and a lot of people kind of shy away because there is a cost to it, but it's a one-time cost, lifetime.
That's cool. So let me ask you this question. So the question was, he has a mixer that has 4 channels, but Ecamm only sees channel 1 and 2. Am I right in saying with Loopback, you're able to get those other channels that you can route to Ecamm?
You can see all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
I've set that up for clients. I can't tell you how many times. So yeah, you can see all of them. And you can actually isolate them and decide which audio channels can come in. Loopback is just so granular. But you can kind of make your own mic and put in that mic everything that you need for a particular broadcast or stream. So it's just, again, it's just having those options. If you come into a scenario where you have to have that granular ability, having those options is great. And one of the things that people kind of did when they got rid of Loopback because Ecamm came up with the virtual mic is they didn't realize that it doesn't close the loop. That's the way I like to say it. So Ecamm now will send your audio into Zoom, but you don't have a way of bringing the audio from Zoom back to you.
Gotcha.
So Loopback still closes that loop and allows you to bring that audio from Zoom back into Ecamm so you can record it, number one. Right. Number two, sometimes I'll just bring the audio from Zoom into Ecamm while I'm live. My live audience can see me. My Zoom audience can see me as well, but my live audience can also hear the audience in Zoom. So, you got some options there in terms of how you want to set it up.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Never thought about that. So he's saying that he's using the Mackie Pro 6 FX mixer. Is that the new one?
I don't know if that's
a new one. They have a new one.
They have a couple of
that's going to compete with the Rodecaster Duo.
Well, I don't know if I want to say compete, because Rode just bought Mackie. So
you're so right. You're so right.
So I feel like what Rode is doing is they're diversifying the Mackie lineup to ensure that it's creator centric. And so I would really watch that space. Mackie and Rode, that's a serious partnership. I'm interested to see what comes of it.
That's going to be really cool. And yes, Brian, we did see the native Zoom support for Ecamm. And
yes,
I got to play with that, brother. I want to know, and everybody, everybody wants to be able to throw a ton of people on their broadcast, right? That's the thing. Like if we had, I can actually have another. Like if I had a Zoom call, I could actually put the people behind me, like on the camera. You can see the people from the Zoom while I'm live. So that's something that I really want to do. I have a client that is doing some international stuff that's what they want as well. So I'm gonna have to figure that out for them, and then I'm gonna use it with me. Be like, hey, we're on a Zoom call, but we're also live. All of that stuff. Let's see how it works.
One of the things I love how you just ended that sentence by "let's see how it works." You just got to add the "all" in there. No, but one of the things,
see how it works with an E.
But one of the things I always say to folks is you do want to make sure that your process for bringing in guests is something that is familiar to them. I love Ecamm's interview mode. It's absolutely awesome. I love it, but there's a learning curve for those who are not familiar with interview mode. People are very.
Help me out with that. Help me out with the learning curve. You send them a link.
Yeah.
Unless someone has never ever came in as a guest on anything, like I think that it's so intuitive.
Yeah. So there's nowhere to pick, where your audio is coming out of.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So And that's a limitation of the platform that Ecamm is partnering with, to be clear, because the interview mode is a partnership between Ecamm. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation for another time. But the idea is you don't get to pick where the audio is coming out of. So you have to pick that with your default. And that's really just the major thing. Other than that, you're absolutely correct. It's as simple as it can get. But for some reason, that seems to be a sticking point. Like, I can't pick, where do I pick the speaker? I don't see where I can pick the speaker. And so you have to actually go into, depending on if they're on Windows or if they're on Mac, you got to go into your system settings and select your speaker. And so you would hope that their default speaker is already the one that they want to use. But I can't tell you how many times I've had people come in to interview mode and it's their default speaker is not quite the one. Maybe they just played something else. They tried something. I mean, it's set to their AirPods or set to something else. So that one little thing, I think, would really help it to be even that much more intuitive, right?
So G. Albert is saying Loopback is fun tool to goof around with. I encourage you to pay the one-time price. He didn't know whether it was 80 or $100. He didn't know. And then Brian is like, the Mackie DLZ Creator X looks sweet, but I'm hard on the road camp, and we're all on the road camp, Brian. We really are.
That Mackie joint looks really nice. I definitely want to try it out.
Did you get a chance to answer the question from my friend? Let me see if I can answer the question.
What question was this?
I'm not really sure. Let's see what David has. Here's my question. I thought I did answer it. Here's my question, DJ. As a pastor, God speaks through you. My question is, what microphone is strong enough for both you and the voice of God? Asking for a friend. So,
oh gosh,
there you go. So, my microphone of choice.
I need David to tell us what this friend is. Who's this friend first?
Right. Well, it's an inside joke apparently, but I'm a SM7B boy, and I think that when I speak for the Lord, and you guys gotta hear it, the SM7B is good enough. I think that's good enough. David, I think that it's the Rode mic. It doesn't work for anything else, so I have a greater purpose. So I guess that's him talking to David. Laura did an unboxing with the Mackie, which is really, really cool. Dope. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that. I guess I need to check Laura out on her unboxing. It's just a cool, we like new stuff, right?
Yeah, it's new, it's shiny, it's different. So, it's gonna have that hotness effect. And it's kind of like Energizer and Duracell, right? Somebody's mind is blown right now. So that's why I wanted to pause. But it's kind of like Energizer and Duracell, where the money all goes back to Rayovac. So
same thing.
It's the same thing.
Love it. I always thought that if I had a business, because we know so just say you're in a restaurant business, right? When you start off in a restaurant business, you're a new restaurant, everybody goes to the new spot, right?
Right.
Everybody have you been to such and such? They're in town now. Yeah. You got to go to the new spot. Well, what happens 10 years down the road? You're not the new spot anymore.
Right.
When I open up seemingly the competition.
Yeah.
And be the new spot.
If you study marketing, I'll give you one more, right? Because somebody else is out there still trying to figure out, what does he mean by all the money goes back to Rayovac? Because Rayovac owns both Duracell and Energizer. That's a whole story for another time. But your boys at McDonald's was like, well, we got to get in on this burrito, right? But we're not going to sell a burrito at McDonald's. And plus, McDonald's been around for so long, we don't have that hotness effect. So what does McDonald's do? They open up Chipotle.
There you go.
Yeah. You see?
And nobody knows the difference.
And most people don't really chase the quarter or the dime or the nickel back to where, the mothership is. So it's like, man, let me go hit up Chipotle.
So the show is about how to use Ecamm to record your live podcast. And I broke it down just like I would do any video recording with Ecamm, right? And it is so simple to me. But do you have anything that you would add if someone is doing a podcast using Ecamm that might help the people tonight?
So I want to give two things. One is a Easter egg, and it will become irrelevant, depending on what the twins do with Ecamm. But did you know that if you record in vertical 9:16 in Ecamm, so for my podcast, I record vertical. So I have my guest in vertical and I'm in vertical and I record vertical. But because I have on ISO recording turned on, I get the wide version too.
There you go.
So I get both the vertical, the full recording of the two of us, and then I get individual recordings of both my guest camera and my camera in the 9:16, and then I can do whatever I want with that. So that would be the thing I would say. Think about your podcast from the perspective of, what do I want to do with it after the fact? And what features is going to allow me the most options for repurposing to be able to take this thing and really kind of do whatever I want with it. When I first gave my video editor both the vertical and the 2 wide videos, he was just like, the sky's the limit. I can do anything with this. And those are the kinds of things that I always want people to kind of be thinking about.
So help me out with this.
Sure.
I do have a question I'm going to get to, Brian. I'm going to get to your question. So you're saying in the isolated videos, you're doing it vertical. You're using tall.
I'm doing tall. Yes.
In the isolated video. But when you bring it into...
No. In the actual Ecamm recording, like it's a tall video. Huh?
Like the way we are now?
Well, no, the whole canvas is tall.
The whole canvas is tall.
Yeah. So myself and the guest are like Instagram style on top of one another, right?
For your podcast.
Like you would for how you repurpose with Opus or whatever else, right? It'd be in that 9:16. Everybody's in there.
Okay.
So if you had 2 people, 3 people, whatever, but you format them by designing it the way you would in Ecamm. But just by checking that ISO box, you get the wide version of everybody's video. So let me ask you this question. What computer are you using to do that? I'm using a Mac Mini, M1. 16 gig of RAM.
16? Okay. I have 16. The 8, so that may be the difference, because my 8 can't do that.
Right.
My 8 can't do that.
So the 8, I have I have the 16, which is the one right here. I'm touching it right now. But I do have the 8, and I was able. So if you only have one guest, it can work. If you have more than one guest, I wouldn't try to push it. But yeah. And it also depends on how you're recording. If you're recording in 4K, 1080p, 60, 30, whatever. So, I would play with it, bring in a guest, like, have your wife connect in, bring in a guest, and see what it does and see if you can get that recording.
So my issue is that I have to stream. I have to stream in 4K, Kirk. I just have to.
I feel it.
I have to, man.
Now, listen, the fact that it can be done means that you must do it.
I have to do it. So it just puts a strain on my computer trying to record ISO of those additional videos. So my video, their video, and both the audios, it just puts a strain on my 8. So on the Mac Mini 8. So I know that I need to get a computer that could just a little bit more robust. And you're saying that 16 is doing it. I'm also telling everybody that the M2 would do it.
M2 does it, yep.
MacBook Pro M1 will do it. Studio M1 will do it. I just need a little bit more power than the Mac Mini 8. So the Mac Mini 8 is good for streaming.
Right.
And when we got it, of course, Ecamm didn't have those other features, so it wasn't a need. But now there's a need.
But I will say this though. I think, in terms of future proofing my next purchase.
Okay.
Because I feel like the M1 it's the same concept. What you literally just said it a second ago. We bought it before, not really recognizing that things would shift that quickly.
Right.
So I'm recommending to anybody, like, think about that purchase from the perspective of, I want this to be able to not only handle what's out currently, but what's coming around the corner. And I think there's a lot coming around the corner based on what we saw with the whole Zoom setup yesterday. Last week with that announcement. I mean, literally my mind was blown. There's a number of questions, I should say, that I want to touch on. I want to touch on a couple of them.
And let's just say this, David. Yes, I do, sir.
Yes, yes,
I
he
do.
does.
I do.
David.
Go watch the replay. Like
Yeah.
even with my repurposed stuff from Opus, man, it just come out so much clearer. Come
See,
out so much clearer because of the
you
4K.
you're checking. That's the box I'm talking about right there, DJ.
Yeah, yeah. So
What
which one do
what
you
you
want to
want to
go
do with
to,
it after the
Brian?
fact? Yeah.
You,
Brian at the first one. Brian. Yeah. Um, if you record, so I actually tried. What's the name of the? Okay, Zencaster. I tried Zencaster as well. I've tried Riverside. I've tried several other platforms. Um, there's a drift that happens on some of those, but the benefit is that it is locally recorded and uploaded after the fact. So when you're talking about isolated recordings with Ecamm, I have not seen that happen. If let me say it differently, if the person doesn't have a delay already, right? So like it's either that the delay is there and you can kind of fix that in post because it's a consistent delay, or they're everything is synced up and it's ready to go. So I have not seen that with Ecamm. So to answer your question, Brian, that has not been an issue that I have dealt with when I record my podcast with Ecamm.
there you
So
go.
that hopefully that answers that one. Let me see what else we got here. A couple of people are just kind of
Let's
as they're
just
thinking.
anytime somebody says something good about us, we have to put it up, right? Oh, I see what Kirk means. That's brilliant. I do think that's
Yeah,
a brilliant idea as well.
yeah.
He said it twice. Like, there you go. In that scenario, how does adding lower third show on the wide recording? So does the graphics show on the isolated video?
Nope. No graphics show on the ISO recordings. And that's the best part. No graphics show on the ISO recordings. So you have that. It's a clean slate. You can do whatever you want with it. So in case like if your guest said something that like literally split the atom, you have a full recording of them with no graphics, with nothing on it that you can utilize for repurposing. And this similarly for yourself. Like if you're in that joint, and you say something just because of the conversation with you and your guest, you may say something that is literally, social media gold. You now have a clean recording of that. And this is why I love about ISO. It's just turn it on and record, y'all. It's a game changer. It's a game changer. All right. Brian came back with another one here.
Okay. Follow up to the question.
Is he recording
okay. Go ahead. 16:9. So what he's saying, he's recording in 9:16.
Yes.
Let me know if I'm not making sense with the question.
I think Strick and I dealt with this earlier, but it's the whole canvas, just as you said, is 9:16. And then I'm just checking the box for ISO recordings and selecting my camera as camera A and my guest's camera as camera B. And then, you can select the audio and you can also do individual. If you're doing a podcast, you definitely want to make sure you're recording isolated audio as well, because then you can actually take those and edit them individually. If somebody coughs, if somebody sneezes, if you don't have that as an individual audio file, you can't edit those pieces out. And so keep those things in mind. For audio, for a lot of times we edit the audio pod or a podcast with video in mind first, but I always make sure I share with people a podcast, you do need to prioritize the audio. One of the reasons why I like to wear my Dome headphones when I'm recording my podcast is I want to hear what it sounds like with the headphones on. It's like I'm trying to prioritize the audio piece. So keep that in mind as well, just to, a little
So
piece
one more
of
thing from Brian. He says he would love to see. So what we're saying, Brian, is that you do have the local guest. Oh, you're saying that the guest could record locally.
Yes. So kind of like Zencaster or Riverside, if Ecamm had a module that allowed for the guest recording to be recorded locally and uploaded after the fact, because what ends up happening, I had this happen with Luria Petrucci. She was on my show, and I don't know what was happening, if it was on my side or on her side, but I just wasn't getting a good connection. So her video was very blurry.
Right.
And it was devastating for me because there was some gold that was shared in that episode, and I can't necessarily repurpose it because the only recording I have is not really usable. So I totally hear what you're saying, but because Ecamm is not web-based, right? It's locally installed. There is a challenge in terms of being able to do that. It would have to be a function of their interview mode platform, which I don't know if that has an option there. So but it's definitely something we should probably run up the flagpole to see if we can get that, get some support for that. I think it'd be great.
So let me say this about that having grainy video, like if there's some real gold in there, man, put up a picture.
There's some gold in there, so I may
If
do
there's some
that.
gold in there,
There
find a
is.
good picture of her and put up a picture like you there, a picture, animate both of you guys. So not
Yeah.
moving animation, but maybe cartoon things is kind of static and just have the audio. Make an audiogram is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's this is great. This is a great idea because I do want to repurpose some of that content. She's going to be on my I think we're scheduled to record tomorrow. She's going to be on my podcast.
That's awesome.
Coming up. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
Lori is just such a wealth of knowledge. I know me and you both,
man.
fangirl. We were fighting to hang out with her when we were at Creator Camp. Shout out to Creator Camp coming in October. Creator Camp, get your tickets.
Yeah.
Creator Camp number 2. If you come to Creator Camp this year, by the way, I just want you to know that you're coming to the second one. You're not coming to the first one.
Yeah,
first one's done.
Different. It'd be a little different. But you got to be there. You got to be there, and you got to go get you some new merch. By the way, too. You got to
get you some new merch. Yeah.
So let's do this real quick. Question: M1 or M2 Pro for Mac Mini? Mind blown. FYI, is there an upgrade to Loopback 2 for $50? So when we're talking about, I'm all for M2 Pros. I'm all for it. When we talked about future proofing yourself.
Yes.
So based off of what you want to do and also your finances, man, you just want to go for something that's got everything. And right now, Mac has some products, even with the Studio, and you can buy Studio now. It may last you for a really, really long time with the specs that you can get.
Yes.
It's a little bit larger than the Mini, but I have it, and this thing zooms.
I think the Studio gives you some modular ability, meaning I want to say, at least what I initially read, I don't know how true it is. I need to do some more homework, but I believe you can do some upgrades in terms of RAM, and RAM is really where, especially for what we're talking about with Ecamm, with Zoom and some of the other functionality, ISO recordings. The RAM piece is really where the issue is. Like even the M1, the 8 gig of RAM doesn't really do that well, but the 16 gig of RAM does. So it's not really that the processor is the issue. But the Mac Studio, you have the ability to add some additional RAM there. And because you have that ability, it is by definition somewhat future-proofed. But I would make sure you do, purchase it with a good amount of RAM, 16 at a minimum. But if you could do 32 or 64, I would push.
Right.
I would push to that. Absolutely.
Right. So Dan is asking what he thinks is a question that's kind of off, but let's just see what we can kind of help him out. If I upgrade my HSI from 500 to a gig, would that allow me to bring in more guests from Ecamm, or is that about CPU usage?
It's a combination. It's CPU and RAM, and it's also going to have to do with what are you recording at? Are you doing 4K? What are you doing today right now? Strict 4K 24 or is it 4K 30?
That's a good question.
I saw you had it up on screen earlier, but anyway, but it also depends on what you have your stuff coming in at. Here's another thing that I wanted to confirm during the town hall, but I didn't get it. I was just so dumbfounded by the announcements that were shared. But what are we recording our guests at in Ecamm? Because I don't believe we record them at whatever, so like I'm in as a guest for you right now. My camera is able to do 4K, but is it recording at 4K?
I think your camera is coming in. See, it's different with
right
all the stuff. So I'm sending a 4K signal to YouTube.
Right.
And I think the guest is just a little different. What is it saying for your camera? So in the interview mode, it's saying 720p.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So that this is, and that's the number I had in mind. But I just wanted to, I wanted us all to get there together. But 720p for each guest is also a challenge. So one of the updates that they teased last week was that we would be able to select different stream sizes and frame rates for destinations. So if you want to stream tall, to Instagram, but wide to YouTube, you could actually do that, and that's going to be a game changer.
Right.
But the additional piece there is that, of course, you can select whether you're streaming at 1080p, right? It's not the lowest common denominator right now. If you're streaming to, let's say, not Instagram, LinkedIn doesn't do anything higher than 1080p 30. So even if you do 60, it's going to bring it down. Or worse, if you do Amazon doesn't do anything higher than 720p 30. So it's going to bring all of your streams down to 720p 30 as it currently sets it, right? But in that scenario, it would just do 720p 30 for Amazon and still give you, say, 4K on YouTube. So those are some of the things that I think would also play into what was being asked there. I don't know, who's it? Honest Compass? Was that Dan? I can't remember who was asking that question. Yeah, so it would play into that scenario in terms of your speed. So internet speed. I don't know that going up to 500 is going to make a difference. I think it's really going to be on how many guests you have in, how much RAM you have on that machine, and of course, what's your processing power look like? What else are you running on the computer at the time of? I think a lot of times we don't really, think about the fact that we're running a lot of stuff. Like, it's just like Zoom is open right now. I'm not using it, but it's open right now. And really, I should have that turned off. Sometimes I run Ecamm when I'm even as a guest, like say on this stream, I'm a guest, but I don't have Ecamm open right now. So that actually saves me some processor and processing. Right. So some of those kinds of things you want to play with to make sure you have what you need.
So another question here from Brian. I'm curious to see what an app like Topaz Video AI could do, helping up a blurry or grainy feed.
That's a good question. Yeah, I may actually do a quick test on that. That's a great question. Because like I said, the audio was clean and clear, but that video was just was kind of blurry. So, yeah.
So
Honest one. Yeah, no, go ahead.
If you have your guest, if your guest is also using Ecamm, then you can ask your guest to record themselves. Yeah, that's true.
That's very rare, David Hunt, for me. I mean, for me, I'm just saying I don't have a lot of guests that are using Ecamm. So it's very rare.
There you go. So let me see here. So which one from Dan that you want to see? Because he had like a couple of different responses.
Oh, Dan is just having a good old time in the comments. I love it. Yeah. He's just kind of responding to some of the things that I was saying. I was told that their LinkedIn was changing from 1080p 30 to increase, but LinkedIn, can we be honest for just a second, y'all? Because I've seen some things in the community group and folks really kind of going ham in terms of comments and certain things. LinkedIn has not done their due diligence for live video. Can we just, I'm sorry, or I'm not sorry. I just want to be honest for a second. There's some work that needs to be done for LinkedIn to really be a major player. I love LinkedIn. Most of my clients are on LinkedIn, but there are some pieces of the puzzle that they just have not put in place. And so I want to see them shine where this is concerned, but they're hamstringing a lot. There's just some weird little rules. I got a client right now that wants to do a broadcast on his page, and then LinkedIn has this weird rule where you got to have a certain amount of followers on the page before you can actually start streaming. I'm just like, y'all, LinkedIn, just help me out here. I don't get it. And then we're not enabled to stream at the quality level that we're used to. Comments are not being sent back in. The API is not LinkedIn.
So if you want to spend time on LinkedIn, I'm telling you, the newsletter is the way to go, because it gets to a lot of the people that you are connected with on LinkedIn. That's what I would be focusing on. But I know you got clients that want to be able to go live there, and it just makes it a little bit harder. So definitely shouts out to Mr. Camera Junkie for hanging out with us tonight. And then
appreciate you,
my man Chris, man, good to see you, sir. Sorry, not sorry, LinkedIn. It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. And I know that I see your comment, Dan. I know that people have inside information, but you just have to, the perception is unfortunately somebody's reality. Let's be clear. There's somebody that said to me the other day, like, oh, I thought Ecamm doesn't do, doesn't enable you to be able to stream to multiple destinations at the same time. I was like, no, they've been able to, what? You can stream up to 10 destinations.
Right.
And they were like, oh, no, I stopped using it because that's what I thought. That's their perception.
Right.
And their perception is their version of reality. And unfortunately, LinkedIn has left that perception out there. And there's so much, they've got to clean that up in order to make that thing work.
So Dan seems to think that the newsletter is useless unless you have at least, I don't have 2,000 connections that I know of. The last time I checked, I only had like 500. But, when you do the newsletter and it sends an email to those people you're connected with, it's just, from my standpoint, to be able to get a email sent to someone on that platform based off something that I have written down, I think is the coolest thing, because even Kurt, when you post, it may be 3 days before I see your post on LinkedIn.
It happens all the time. All the time.
Just trying to see it come through my feed, it may be 3 days. So, based on what we do, like in other platforms, it is quicker than that. So I wouldn't advertise. So at LinkedIn, you need to advertise, I guess, almost a week out for something that you got going on. With other platforms, it may be 2 or 3 days out. And Dan, crazy. I got to put it. Dan says, I teach this stuff. Well, there you go, Dan. I don't.
Now, Dan, so maybe we need to have a conversation, because I have some very upset clients with LinkedIn right around now. And what you're saying, all you got to do is turn it on creator mode. That sounds to me like a personal profile thing. That doesn't sound like a business page. For a business page, I'm telling you, because I literally just went through this with 4 clients, you cannot stream unless you have a certain amount of followers of that page. And that is a hard requirement. They are not budging. It kind of is what it is. So I hear you, brother. I probably just need to chat with you offline. But I think one of the things I want to say, just from a general perspective, Strick, as we get ready to close this thing out, we are consumers. I had a conversation with Doc Rock. It's my guy, he's, in many ways, he's my coach. I love my guy, Doc Rock, but Doc Rock is a fanboy for Apple. That's just the truth of it, y'all. And so there's a lot of stuff that he will just, he will accept. I try to take a much more tenored approach. I think Apple's doing some phenomenal work. I think LinkedIn is doing some phenomenal work. But I am a consumer first. I have clients that are consumers. I want to be able to serve them well, and I want to be able to give them the best solution, the best platforms, the best strategies that's going to get them towards their goals. And I think when we have those blinders on, we're just like, well, I'm only using X. I'm only using, well, I shouldn't use X anymore because that's actually a company, but I'm only using, said platform or said solution or said gear, right? I'm only using that. You kind of cut yourself off to the options that are out there from everybody else. And so
I do that a lot. And the reason why I do it is because I'm limited in time. So when I have processes and systems in place, a lot of times those processes and systems are built for me. And that's what I sell to my clients as well. But you are right in what you're saying. I'm limiting them because if they're Android users or PC users, guess what? They have to now transition to being an Apple user because that's the system and process that I have in place. Yeah. And it can make it tough on them.
I unfortunately don't have that luxury. So people ask me, what do you use when you stream? Ecamm all day, every day. I mean, I don't even, I should use Ecamm for recording.
Is how are you going to use it?
Exactly.
What are you planning to do with it? I get it. Yeah. I get it. So let's do this really quick, Kurt, because I don't want to miss it before we get out of here.
Okay.
I tell you, man, if you said something good about us, just comment up. I appreciate both of you guys.
Chris Stone.
Thank you, Chris. My guy, Chris Stone. Thank you for saying that. And thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Kirk, man, I'm glad you made it home safely. Traveling like that is a big deal in the weather that we have down south, man. So thank you for coming through. And you see me with my SM7B out tonight.
Yeah, I see. I actually was watching the whole time, man. You were changing mics and stuff. I was like, man, I want to
Yeah.
be there.
You know I like doing
So,
that. I just
yeah,
like changing
yeah.
microphones. I don't know what it is with that. And David, you will not be left out, sir, before we get out of here. He's been helping out. He was almost a moderator tonight, man.
Yeah,
David
we
Hunt, man. I
appreciate you, Doc.
appreciate you, man. So
Yeah,
much
absolutely.
value. And we want to do this next Sunday. I hadn't told you yet, Kirk. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
hearing this with everybody else.
Come on.
Oh, let me do this because you know what I'm saying. Well, I had to put that up, man. Thank you, amazing show.
Come
I
on,
love it.
Doc Wood.
Next Sunday, we have Mary Lou Mandel coming to the show. Like, you know, I love Stephanie Garcia. Mary Lou is another one of my favorite content creators. And we're going to just talk about creating stuff, like the different ways that you can create content. Of course, we have this theme of podcasting, but Mary Lou does so much stuff. And I want to open people's mind to getting outside of the box for content creation. Because there's so many things that we could be doing that's out there, not just trendy stuff, but different ways to create. And not, you know, of course, we like to live stream and talk about all these microphones, but I'm telling you, being able to use this thing right here and just, you know, going live with your phone, that's a big deal. And learning how to do it effectively could be the difference of you connecting or even going viral some kind of way. I just believe that.
I think there's just so much that she's going to be able to share. So I'm excited, you know.
Can I give you another one? Can I give you another one?
Please do.
First Sunday in February, so it's the Sunday after that. I got Justin Brown from Primal Video coming to the show, man. Coming to the stream show.
Man. Come on, Primal Video.
Yeah, so that's back-to-back weeks.
Down under.
Back-to-back weeks. So we got a lot of guests coming through. So you can't travel on Sundays for the next couple of weeks, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to try my best not to. That's my plan.
I got Tanya coming back to the show, and we got a few more guests coming. So, be on the lookout. And I promise next time not to announce it to everybody and not tell you first.
No. You're fine, brother. I know even though these confirmations are new, we've talked about these names before. So
yeah, we have.
I'm just excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, we got them on the books.
So come on.
Got them on the books. Okay, so that being said, I want to see you guys next Sunday, and we're going to be doing creator talk and kind of exploring some new ways to create with Mary Lou. And I will be fanboying the whole time, so just get ready for that. And our job is to help you guys explore ways to do more. That's all I want to do.
That's it.
That's all I want to do. So last one for tonight. Looking forward to when you start talking live callers on your listen, that is a great idea. So point made. Like we'll do that too. I don't mind doing that. Like I'm a radio guy.
Now I will say this
part of it.
When they did the announcement last week talking about the Zoom integration, to me, that is a ultimate cheat code to bring in live callers.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to work it out. Maybe we make that, I was going to say it could be our first summit and use it that way, but I think that I'm going to be out that 5th Sunday. We'll figure it out. We'll make it a whole big show, kind of showcasing how all that could work. And I got to get Loopback, I guess, to kind of figure that part out too. But we will.
Definitely the one.
All right, guys, let's do this. I want to see you next time. Kirk, thank you for coming through. I'm glad you made it home safely. And we got more and more stuff to do together. And thank everybody for watching. If you are watching in the replay and you made it this far, please make a comment. Let us know that you watched. All right, God bless you guys. Hey, this is DJ Strick, and I would like to thank you for watching another edition of The Stream Show.